The moon landing, July 16, 1969. One of the greatest accomplishments ever achieved in human history. A true marvel of technology, creativity, and collaboration. But was it faked? Not everyone is completely convinced that the moon landing was real. There are countless conspiracy theories and ideas as to how it could have been fabricated. I'm Alex Hay, and for my term project for Astronomy 1010K, I'm going to be looking at and addressing the moon landing conspiracy. Okay, so we've all heard in some way that the moon landing could have been faked. But before we get too much further into that, we need to address where this idea came from and how it gained traction. We can trace this idea that the moon landing was fake to Bill Kaysing in his book, We Never Went to the Moon, America's $30 Billion Swindle. In this book, Bill Kaysing, a freelance writer who abandoned his family and was described as having chronic anxiety, claimed that there was no way NASA could have landed a man on the moon and brought him back given current technology available. He lists several theories and explanations as to why he thinks that the moon landing could have been faked, and it ranges from everything from the stars are missing in the background to he thinks that Stanley Kubrick helped film it on an underground soundstage. And if that sounds crazy, it's because it is. Bill Kaysing didn't even believe this himself. In fact, in an unaired interview, he admits that he got the idea from a homeless heroin addict who claimed that it would help undermine the government. When he signed his contract with the Los Angeles Free Press, it was agreed that the book was actually satire. So this begs the question, why would anybody believe the words of a paranoid freelance writer who is intending to write satire over the words and evidence of NASA? And the answer is quite simple, and it's that because the book was published in 1976. Now this is important for a number of reasons. The Watergate scandal was still fresh in people's minds, the Pentagon paper had just proven that President Johnson had lied about parts of the Vietnam War, and there were ongoing congressional reports that were outlining the CIA's shady practices. This governmental distrust combined with extensive media coverage of Kaysing's book led to the widespread popularity of the moon landing conspiracy. So now that we know how this conspiracy came to light, we need to address why people think that the moon landing was fake. History.com and NASA point to the three most common reasons that people think that the moon landing was fake. And these are the fact that the flag looks like it's flapping in the wind. Logic goes that there is no atmosphere on the moon, thus there is no wind, so the flag should not be waving at all. Additionally, a lot of people point to the inconsistencies found in the pictures that NASA released from this event. For example, in this picture, there are no stars visible, something that would be expected on the moon. In this picture, the shadows of the rocks and the lander are not parallel, something that would be expected if the sun were the only light source. And in this picture, Neil Armstrong is standing in the complete shadow of the lunar lander, yet is still somehow illuminated, which points to the idea that maybe there was a fill light pointed at him. This is some of the most convincing evidence that critics have, as it comes directly from NASA, and it seems to defy all logic. And people were quick to point out that on Earth you can only leave crisp footprints in wet substances. However, the moon should have no moisture in its soil. So how is it that these astronauts can leave perfect molds of their feet wherever they go? While there are thousands of other reasons as why people think the moon landing could have been faked, I simply do not have enough time to cover all of these. So we're just going to stick with these three that continually come up on conversations on this topic. No. Pretty much all of these claims about how the moon landing could have been faked can be disputed and invalidated through simple knowledge. The flag was waving not because of the wind, but because of the twisting motion being applied to it. This was validated in Season 2, Episode 6 of the Mythbusters, where they test how the flag would behave in a vacuum, and it behaves exactly as shown in the moon landing tapes. And while the pictures may look odd, they can really be explained through simple camera knowledge and through basic logic. Take, for example, this picture with no stars. This can be explained by the exposure of the camera taking the image. This image is exposed for the lunar surface, which is comparatively much brighter than the stars in the background. If the astronauts wanted to make the stars visible, they would have to increase the exposure, making the moon much brighter. As for this picture, the shadows are not parallel because the moon is not perfect. In a perfect scenario with one light source, the shadows should be parallel. However, as mentioned by the Mythbusters, the moon is not perfect. It has rocks, canyons, and craters, all of which bounce light in different ways. And in this picture, Neil Armstrong is illuminated because light is bouncing off the lunar surface and hitting, and this acts just as a fill light or a reflector would on a film set. And finally, the footprints are so crisp despite the lack of moisture because of the unique composition of lunar soil. Unlike sand on Earth, lunar soil does not slip, but rather has a tendency to keep its shape. No. While there is no way to examine and dispute every single one of the countless conspiracy theories and pieces of evidence given by moon landing deniers, I believe the statement given by NASA and History.com puts every single one of these conspiracy theories to rest. There were over 400,000 credited and verified people who helped put a man on the moon. If the entire thing was one giant hoax, don't you think more than a handful would have come forward by now with the truth?